Discourse on narrative choices has become polarizing. Acknowledging the controversial state of online reviews shouldn't be considered a controversial statement. The act of consuming media analysis is the act of sifting through the quagmire of bad faith arguments and political obfuscating. The term bigotry gets thrown around a lot online when discussions of artistic opinions are being discussed. Again, I don't see this statement as a controversial one. In most cases, it's justified. Online spaces tend to bring out the worst in people. Defenders of a work have a massive array of tools at their disposal to argue their case against criticism. But you wouldn't think that based on how the vast majority of online movie critics act. There's no shortage of political excuses. You hate this character because they're black. You hate this character for being a strong male. This movie is made for the woke agenda. This story is propaganda for the alt-right. The most relevant excuse for this video's topic is the statement, "You just don't like strong women." Let's discuss that. The question of the day is a simple one. Why is Captain Marvel boring? This simple question has no shortage of complicated answers, or more pessimistically, unjustified ad hominems. The term Mary Sue is inevitably going to come up when discussing Captain Marvel, especially when listening to her harshest critics. Characters are more interesting when their struggles are more visceral. Audiences want high stakes and dramatic tension. A Mary Sue naturally denies the audience's desire for that key piece of character writing. But you've heard that all before. Discussing it would just be shouting into the void at this point. I think digging deeper into what's going wrong in this movie would be a more constructive use of our time. We should go back to my question, why is she boring? Not why is she bad, not why is she annoying. The question is, why is she boring? You could easily say, Vinny, that's obvious. She's too strong. She doesn't struggle. She doesn't change. You're wasting my time, Vinny. Your vocabulary is too pretentious, Vinny. This editing is bad, Vinny. I don't think that's the whole picture. This might come across as a sweeping generalization, but I think the vast majority of general audiences don't hold their media to the same standards of excellence that us terminally online fan bases do. The average Joe is just looking for entertainment. They don't want to be bored. People don't watch Big Trouble in Little China to do character analysis. They watch it because they want to see Kurt Russell say one-liners and beat up gang members. This doesn't mean that movie lacks any sort of depth. It's just that the average moviegoer isn't looking for depth. They just don't want to be bored. Their motivation comes from a place of emotion rather than a place of pure reason. To be clear, this is a compliment, not an insult. One of the most important aspects of art is how the art makes us feel. There's nothing invalid about judging entertainment based on something as simple as whether or not it's boring. Everyone has their own unique tastes, and even the most nonsensical critique is still worth listening to. As emotional beings, humans possess natural intuition about what they watch. You don't have to be a movie critic to know that Captain Marvel is boring. You just feel it when you watch her. My goal for this video is to articulate that emotional response into tangible thought. A lack of relatability is a consistent argument against Captain Marvel, but that's a pretty broad statement. If we dig deep enough into our emotional reaction to the Captain, it leads us to an interesting question. What does Captain Marvel love? Doing the right thing? That's also pretty broad. You can toss a stone and hit a hero with that trait without even aiming. Does she love her Kree comrades? Clearly not, based on how she turned on them without reluctance once the truth of the Skrulls was clear. It makes me wonder if she would do the same to the Skrulls if some secret truth exposed them as being secretly evil as well. After all, if she's willing to do it to her friends, why wouldn't she do it for aliens she barely knows? It's an uncharitable interpretation of her motivations, but with how badly the movie does at explaining why she does the right thing, I wouldn't hold it against anyone for accepting that idea. So, if she doesn't love the Kree or the Skrulls, what does she love? Fans of the movie are already shouting at me, "Don't be stupid, Vinny. She loves her friend Maria, Vinny. Either hire an editor or get off my feed, you pompous tryhard." That point is valid for the most part, but a question needs to be asked of why she loves Maria. The film establishes that they were both Air Force pilots at the same time, so they started as coworkers and gradually got to enjoy each other's company. But why do they enjoy each other's company? The film simply plants the seed and puts it on the audience to intuit on their own. There are thousands of answers as to why they became friends, but the film doesn't offer a single one. Maybe the relationship is more meaningful in the sequel, but that doesn't really matter when judging movies as individual experiences. It's important to elaborate that the question, why is Captain Marvel boring, can be applied to the movie title and character alike. What does Captain Marvel love? The question isn't clear. The movie seems to not care about filling us in on that. So if the movie doesn't care, why should the audience? I think there's a way around this, however. Love is a key part of the human experience, but it's really just one side of the coin. Flip that coin and the other visceral emotion becomes clear. What does the character fear? Fear, like love, is a deep, primal aspect of being human. From the dawn of man, we've been motivated to fear death and love life. If you want a relatable character, fear is just as important as love. MacReady from John Carpenter's The Thing is a great example of this. We don't know what he loves. We don't know what his family life is. We don't know what his interests and hobbies are. Yet we still relate to him on an emotional level. The answer in this case is fear. MacReady is scared of the Thing. It motivates him to fight it. He's scared of being betrayed by an imposter, which in turn motivates him to distrust the people around him. His fear pushes him through the movie right to the end. To fear is human. It's inherently relatable. Back to Captain Marvel, what does she fear? There's even less to work with here than the love question. She fears nothing. She's not scared of any of her opponents. She isn't scared of failing to protect the Skrulls. She isn't scared of letting down Yon-Rogg. All the opportunities in the movie for her to fear something is replaced by monotone stoicism and bitter rage. At her lowest point, she shows no sign of fear. She just gets angry. Anger is a decent way to humanize a character, but it doesn't foster the same kind of empathy in the audience that fear or love does. As a result, Captain Marvel is boring. I think it's important to point out that not once have I brought her gender into the discussion. It needs to be said in clear and honest argument that there's nothing inherently unlikable about a strong female hero. Gamora and Nebula are strong women, and they're beloved and irreplaceable to the experience of their films. Of course, this is because we know what they love. They love each other. They love the Guardians. Nebula, in all her cold intolerance of others, was brought to the brink of tears when she learned that Rocket recovered from his life-threatening injury. Can you possibly imagine Captain Marvel being brought to such a deep emotional reaction? I certainly can't. And why that is obvious. Captain Marvel is boring, and no amount of excuses and political obfuscating can change that. Thank you for watching.